Welcome to Histology Channel. Welcome to our exploration of the dark and eerie realm of witchcraft. Today, we're diving into the stories of some of the most chilling witches ever recorded. These figures were feared, reviled, and sometimes even sought after for their rumored powers. From hidden intrigues in the French court to desperate accusations in Puritan New England, each of these tales reveals how fear and superstition can leave an indelible mark on history. Lavoisin, born Catherine Monvoisin around 1640, rose to infamy in 17th century France during the reign of King Louis XIV. Known for her involvement in poisonings, black magic, and the notorious affair of the poisons, she became a symbol of how hidden schemes and fear can shape an entire era. Catherine Monvoisin lived in a time when religious devotion and belief in the supernatural overlapped. Mid-17th century Paris was rife with poverty and superstition, perfect conditions for a figure like Lavoisin to build a profitable enterprise. She started as a midwife and fortune teller, offering potions, palm readings, and love charms. Her clientele spanned social classes, from desperate commoners to members of the nobility seeking to manipulate fate. Her reputation and her wealth soared, making her a key figure in a shadowy underworld where religion and witchcraft coexisted. She turned her home into a central meeting place for those seeking secret knowledge, wielding influence far beyond her modest origins. Lavoisin's darkest chapter unfolded during the late 1670s in what became known as the Affair of the Poisons. This scandal rocked the French court and ensnared fortune tellers, alchemists, and alleged witches who produced lethal substances and performed illicit rituals for aristocratic clients. Among her clientele was Madame de Montespan, King Louis XIV's powerful mistress, who is rumored to have sought Lavoisin's help to retain the king's affection and eliminate rivals. This connection bestowed immense influence on Lavoisin, but also sealed her doom. A crackdown began when several nobles died suspiciously. Authorities discovered a network dealing in poison and dark rites. Lavoisin was arrested in 1679 and under torture confessed to numerous charges: murder, witchcraft, and alleged plots to harm the king. Reports from the time accused Lavoisin of performing black masses, blasphemous rituals that subverted Christian rites and supposedly involved devil worship and human sacrifice. She was said to host these ceremonies alongside renegade priests, misusing sacred objects to invoke demonic powers. The participation of high-ranking nobles, including Madame de Montespan, illustrated the desperation and moral decay at the highest echelons of society. For Lavoisin, these rites were about power as much as profit. After the affair of the poisons came to light, Lavoisin was arrested, interrogated, and ultimately convicted of witchcraft. She was burned at the stake on February 22, 1680, in Paris. Her execution signaled the final push to contain the scandal. King Louis XIV had many records destroyed to distance himself from the affair, leaving aspects of her story forever shrouded in mystery. Lavoisin's life underscores the power of superstition, corruption, and hidden ambition in 17th century France. She thrived in a society where religious devotion coexisted with a deep-seated fear of the occult. Her downfall shows how a desire for influence and wealth can converge with society's darkest anxieties, with fatal results. She remains an emblem of how quickly a culture steeped in paranoia can turn to violence and persecution. Isabel Gaudi's story takes us to Scotland in the 17th century, a land consumed by religious upheaval, social instability, and the dread of witchcraft. Scotland was notorious for its fervent witch hunts, during which thousands of people were accused, often based on hearsay and suspicion. During the 16th and 17th centuries, Scotland was in crisis. The Reformation had instilled a profound fear of the devil's influence, and witchcraft was seen as an especially menacing threat. Religious zeal, social stress, and local feuds fueled endless accusations, with neighbors often turning against each other out of paranoia. Though her name sometimes appears as Isabel Gaudi or Isabel Gaudi, her confessions remain some of the most extensive and eerie on record. While many witchcraft confessions came through torture, it's unclear whether Gaudi endured such treatment. Regardless, the looming threat of harsher punishment was always there. She claimed to have made a pact with the devil, attended sabbats, shape-shifted into animals, hares, cats, crows, and harnessed the wind by throwing dust into the air and chanting. She also spoke of witch gatherings where followers feasted with the devil and practiced black magic. These vivid details matched local folklore, making her admissions all the more terrifying to her neighbors. What set Gaudi's confessions apart was how closely they mirrored the rumors and superstitions of her community. She insisted witches caused deaths through sympathetic magic, using effigies of victims. Her portrayal of devil worship and witchy vengeance confirmed people's deepest fears. Her confessions further inflamed an already volatile situation in Scotland, lending credibility to the notion that witches had real power. Today, historians and folklorists study her statements to understand the era's collective psyche. Gaudi's tale highlights the deadly potential of fear and suspicion, reminding us that in a charged atmosphere, ordinary lives can be swept away by hysteria. Alice Keitler, born around 1280, lived in medieval Ireland, a society steeped in Catholic doctrine and wary of heresy. A wealthy, independent woman with multiple marriages ending in her husband's suspicious deaths, she became a prime suspect for witchcraft accusations. When her fourth husband, Sir John Lapoa, fell ill, he accused Alice of causing his decline. Upon his death, his children and the offspring of her previous marriages charged her with sorcery, demon worship, and using harmful potions. In a period where unexplainable illnesses and deaths were often attributed to witchcraft, Alice was rumored to keep a familiar, a demonic companion, in the form of a black cat or dog. The church saw such allegations as evidence of heresy, making her a target for both ecclesiastical and popular fury. Bishop Richard de la Drede spearheaded her trial, one of the earliest known witch trials in Europe. Alice's high social standing allowed her to delay arrest and even temporarily imprison the bishop. Eventually, however, she was formally charged. Her maidservant, Petronilla de Meath, gave a damning confession under torture, implicating Alice in dark rites and demon invocation. Alice escaped to England, vanishing from history. Without their prime suspect, authorities turned on her followers. Petronilla became the first person in Ireland executed for witchcraft, setting a harsh legal precedent. Alice's tale illustrates the dangers facing women who challenge societal norms. Her accumulated wealth and unusual personal life cast her as a lightning rod for envy and suspicion. Her trial laid groundwork for future witch persecutions, showcasing the church's willingness to root out heresy and the community's readiness to punish an outsider. Her story endures as a stark reminder of how fear and power can collide, especially when aimed at independent women. Mother Shipton, born Ursula Sonthale, or Southale, in late 15th century Yorkshire, was said to be the child of an unwed teenage mother rumored to have dabbled in dark forces. Even from birth, she was marked as extraordinary, possibly deformed, and widely shunned. Though called a witch, Mother Shipton was more famous for her prophecies. People attributed to her the foresight of major events, such as the Spanish Armada's defeat, 1588, and the Great Fire of London, 1666. While scholars debate the authenticity and timing of these prophecies, her reputation as a seer persisted. Beyond predictions, Mother Shipton was rumored to cast spells and influence weather. Locals who mocked her were said to suffer curses, while her gifts of prophecy earned her both fear and reverence. Unlike many accused witches, she avoided execution. Her powers were believed to be as valuable as they were terrifying. The cave of her birth, near Knaresborough, remains a tourist attraction, featuring a petrifying well that coats objects in mineral deposits. Over centuries, Mother Shipton morphed from a local curiosity to a legendary figure of English folklore. Her story blends the need for guidance in uncertain times with the power of myth, illustrating how one person's legend can take on a life of its own. Grace O'Malley, sometimes woven into folklore as Grain N. Imhale, was born in 1530 to the O'Malley clan in County Mayo, Ireland. From a young age, she defied the strict gender roles of her time, ultimately becoming a legendary pirate queen. Over the years, local stories also painted her as a type of sea witch, claiming she held supernatural control over the ocean's forces. Connacht was rich in lore about powerful women reputed to have magical prowess. Grace's fearless leadership and daring naval exploits fit right into these traditions. She led fleets, negotiated with chieftains, and boldly resisted English rule, creating a mystique that combined maritime skill with rumored magical might. Grace's intimate knowledge of tides and weather often seemed uncanny to those around her. Legends claimed she could summon fog to cloak her attacks or raise fierce storms to thwart her enemies. While much of this likely reflects her strategic brilliance, the story cemented her place as a fearsome figure who blurred the line between reality and myth. Grace famously met Queen Elizabeth I in 1593. She supposedly refused to bow and used her audacity, some say even witchy charms, to secure her son's release and protect her lands. Whether actual magic played any part or not, the event enhanced her reputation as a formidable leader who challenged royal authority on her own terms. In some tales, Grace cursed those who betrayed her, causing ruin or unexplained calamities. Yet she was also revered as a defender of her clan, safeguarding her people during a time of turmoil. Over the centuries, she has come to symbolize fierce independence and the potential for real-world daring to blend with legend. Tituba, born around 1680 in the Caribbean, arrived in Massachusetts as an enslaved person in the household of Samuel Parris, the Puritan minister of Salem Village. With her mixed heritage and social position, she stood out in a culture defined by rigid religious norms and racial hierarchies. In the winter of 1692, Salem Village was seized by hysteria when several young girls began experiencing strange fits. Tituba was among the first to be accused of bewitching them. Her status as an enslaved outsider made her an easy target, especially in a Puritan society already convinced of the devil's lurking presence. Under intense pressure and likely brutal threats, Tituba confessed to witchcraft. She described signing a pact with the devil and recounted visions of black dogs, strange birds, and even other witches in town. This confession inflamed Salem's paranoia and kicked off a flood of additional accusations. In doing so, Tituba unintentionally became a linchpin in one of the most infamous episodes of mass hysteria in American history. Tituba's ordeal reveals how biases about race and foreign religions fed the frenzy. In a society fearful of hidden evil, someone already marginalized could swiftly be deemed guilty. Her forced confession seemed to confirm every dark suspicion the community harbored, further fueling the persecution of others. Over centuries, Tituba has been portrayed both as a cunning sorceress and a tragic victim. In reality, she likely confessed to avoid harsher punishment, caught in a society predisposed to demonize her. Her story underscores how vulnerable individuals are often blamed for the larger fears of the community, and how prejudice can merge with superstition to unleash disastrous consequences. From Lavoisin's Black Masses in the heart of Paris to Tituba's coerced confession in Puritan New England, these narratives remind us that the witch label often arises where fear, suspicion, and social tensions intersect. These women, whether truly practicing dark arts, engaging in folk traditions, or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time, have become enduring symbols. Their stories caution us about the perils of unchecked authority, widespread panic, and the tragic outcomes that can follow when societies allow fear to overshadow reason.